Let's check out Quintorius Kand in Oathbreaker and see what kind of signature spells might pair best with him. For 3 red-white, he starts at 4 loyalty. Whenever you cast a spell from exile, Quintorius Kand deals 2 damage to each opponent and you gain 2 life. +1, create a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. -3, discover 4. -6, exile any number of target cards from your graveyard. Add red for each card exiled this way. You may play those cards this turn. If you're not familiar with Discover, Discover 4 means exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less. Cast it without paying its mana cost or put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This guy seems like an awesome build around Oathbreaker. There's a lot we can do with him. And I love that the -3 and the -6 both trigger the static ability. At a glance, that -6 doesn't seem powerful compared to some planeswalkers that ultimate and kind of win you the game. But don't let that fool you. If you can use the mana and card advantage from that to cast, let's say, 3 spells, then you're draining each opponent for 6 and gaining 6 life. This is a 20 life format, so 6 life from each opponent is a lot. It could straight up win you the game, or at least take out 1 or 2 people. Now for my favorite part of these videos, let's see what signature spells synergize best with them. We could pick a signature spell with Discover, so we just double up on Discover. Daring Discovery, for example, costs 5 mana. Up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn. Discover 4. There's also Hit the Motherlode for 7 mana. Discover 10. If the discovered card's mana value is less than 10, create a number of tapped treasure tokens equal to the difference. Cascade also casts from exile, so that would work just as well. Let the Galaxy Burn costs X 5 red. Cascade. Let the Galaxy Burn deals X damage +2 to each creature that didn't enter the battlefield this turn. Volcanic Torrent for 4 and a red. Cascade. Volcanic Torrent deals X damage to each creature and planeswalker your opponents control, where X is the number of spells you've cast this turn. I love that this is one-sided and that it hits their Oathbreakers. And Call Forth the Tempest for 5 red. Cascade, Cascade. Call Forth the Tempest deals damage to each creature your opponents control, equal to the total mana value of other spells you've cast this turn. Okay, this one doesn't hit planeswalkers, but you're probably going to blow up all the creatures your opponents have with this. 8 mana is a lot, though, for a signature spell. Either you're going to be ramping like crazy to get here, or you're playing in a pretty casual meta. But if you are down for an 8 mana spell, how about Dance with Calamity? Shuffle your library. As many times as you choose, you may exile the top card of your library. If the total mana value of the cards exiled this way is 13 or less, you may cast any number of spells from among those cards without paying their mana cost. What I like or don't like about this option is how carefully you would have to build the deck so you can get the maximum value off this. If you can reliably cast like 4 or 5 spells, 4 or 5 burn spells I think would be the way to go, you should be able to just win the game then. But boy, oh boy, does this sound like a challenge. How about a signature spell that casts our opponent's stuff? Ensnared by the Mara costs 2 red. Each opponent faces a villainous choice. They exile cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. Then you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Or that player exiles the top 4 cards of their library and Ensnared by the Mara deals damage equal to the total mana value of those cards to that player. Alright, my favorite thing to do in multiplayer Magic is force my opponents to make hard choices, so this would be the signature spell for me. You Find Some Prisoners is another way to cast some of your opponent's cards from exile, this time in an Impulsive Draw type of way. Although I would recommend doing Impulsive Draw off our own deck, I think that would be even better. Commune with Lava, Reckless Impulse, and Ren's Resolve are all pretty straightforward ways of doing that. But Jessica's Will is easily my number 1. In fact, this is one of the best signature spell choices there are, just generically. I usually don't talk about it because it's usually just generically good. This time it's synergistically good. For 3 mana, choose 1. If you control a commander as you cast the spell, you may choose both. And you're gonna, because you can only cast it if you control your Oathbreaker. Add red for each card in target opponent's hand. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. That's right, Impulsive Draw and the mana with which to cast it. So good. Light Up the Stage costs 2 and a red, but it has Spectacle of Red. You may cast this spell for its spectacle cost rather than its mana cost if an opponent lost life this turn. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. I love that the spectacle cost reduction thing synergizes with Quintorius's static ability. Nahiri's Warcrafting costs 1 red. Nahiri's Warcrafting deals 5 damage to target creature, planeswalker, or battle. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the excess damage dealt this way. You may exile one of those cards, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may play the exiled card this turn. Although I love the idea of planeswalker removal in the command zone that also synergizes with our Oathbreaker, you have to play the card that turn, and you've already spent 3 mana on this. So I'm not sure about this one, but it has potential. I think the other direction we could go with this signature spell is synergizing with the -6, filling our graveyard with stuff so we can maximize value on the -6, or otherwise use other cards in the deck to fill the graveyard and use a signature spell that utilizes the graveyard in some other way. So bridging the gap between these two strategies, Campus Renovation costs 3 red. Return up to 1 target artifact or enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. It kind of mixes synergizing with the static and the -6, but isn't extremely good at either. I think for -6 synergies, Wheel of Fortune, Change of Fortune, and Heartwarming Redemption would be your best bet, hopefully filling your graveyard and giving you some stuff to cast with the -6. Burning Inquiry and Goblin Lore are both kind of mini wheels, sort of, and I love how recastable they are. Gamble might even be a good option here. For a single red mana, search your library for a card and put it into your hand. Discard a card at random. Discarding the card you tutored for always stinks, but in this deck you can kind of get it back, maybe. As far as I can tell, I'm the only YouTuber doing consistent Oathbreaker content. So if you want to see more, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I would also really appreciate a like. My channel is so little that every single like helps a lot. But either way, thanks a lot for watching and have a wonderful day.